In this episode of My Words, My Book, we have Nikki Saunders. Nikki is an author, creator and exec producer of Ready, Eddie, Go on Sky Kids. Nikki's love for storytelling traces back to childhood. Early influences shaped her passion for writing. This became an invaluable tool in supporting her eldest son, Tyler, as he wished to explore his autism diagnosis and celebrate his differences. So, Nikki, why did you become an author?
So I've always loved reading and writing since I was little. My mum used to write stories for me, and I remember being so interested as to why she created the characters or even other authors. I used to think, how have they made that happen? Um, and it was something I parked for a little while, and my son was diagnosed autistic when he was 3. And at the age of 9, he wanted to explore his diagnosis and differences that we can't see. And it was really hard actually for him to find a book that I think he could relate to. Um, I created my own for him, and I wanted to get it right for him. Um, and I made the character look like him so he could relate to our character Eddie, who is named after his great grandfather. So it's very special to us. Um, and we explored lots of differences, and I just kind of wanted him to feel empowered and focus on his strengths. And yeah, that's how I became an author, believe it or not.
I think that's a lovely
It's really
story, and I
special.
think around celebrating around the themes of autism,
Yeah.
because my son's autistic as well. And that's how I think we connected initially. And I think for me, it's beautiful that we're able to write stories which we call the hidden disabilities, because so many individuals who are autistic, I've had people comment and say, but he doesn't look autistic. And I'm
Yes,
sure you've had that as well.
I have heard that a lot. And, just because one person, like you say, who's autistic, everyone's different. And we mustn't judge anyone and just kind of listen and learn about the person. But he was really, really proud of the book. He took it into school.
Wow.
And actually, Laura, he said to me once we'd finished reading it, because obviously visually it took him time to process. He said, "So does that mean I don't have to try and understand all this stuff anymore?" And I knew what he meant.
Yeah.
Um, so I think it was a huge relief for him, and he was happy to have a little friend in a book.
And I think myself as an author, when I go into schools and I share my journey, I'm dyslexic. I also too mention my son who's autistic. And one child, when we have the question time, said, "Are you autistic, Laura?" And I said, "No." And he said, "I am." And he shared his story. And I was very emotional at that. And I think I got emotional because I felt, here is this child who was probably age 9, being able to share with such confidence that he is autistic. And a lot of children aren't able to do that, depending on where they are on the spectrum, because they feel that they have to hide their disability. And I was just listening to him, just explaining to me about his autism. And it was just such a beautiful thing to hear. And then having a book, Ready, Eddie, Go, available for children to see themselves. And expanding on that, Nikki, that it's now a TV show on Sky Kids. So do you want to explain
It's
about that? It's on
crazy.
Sky Kids,
It's
children.
crazy. That's amazing. It is crazy. Um, I think following the book and the magic that it brought into our home, and like you say, my son was that child that you were talking about. I taking the book into school and being so proud of himself. It was just wonderful. And obviously we wanted that for so many other children. So I published the book, and then one day I thought, oh, this would be lovely as a TV show for children to visually watch, and like you say, open up conversations because I want to represent everybody, but everyone's so different. So it's about opening up them conversations. Um, so I joined hands with James Murphy at Hocus Pocus Animation Studio, and Eddie is now on Sky Kids, and it is a very, very special show. Obviously, it's very close to our hearts, of course, but Eddie is autistic. He is the same character, still based on my son, named after his great grandfather, which is lovely because it's kept it real for me and for Tyler. Um, and his narrator talks him through lots of different social situations and scenarios. His best friends are amazing, they help him all the time. He has a little puppy who helps him, the narrator, Jodie Whittaker, and his parents. It's just really lovely, and I think it's an eye-opener for other children to kind of be aware um, of autism a little bit more, and also for children like Eddie and Tyler to feel empowered and believe in themselves. And the one thing about the show is it's not for anyone to say, right, you must have your hair washed now or you must go to the cinema. It's actually about children as they grow learning to fulfill their wishes. So, and it's very fun because there's just lots of really funny moments in there.
I love it. I
You
absolutely,
do.
I love watching it myself. And I think you had a special, didn't you, at Christmas? There
We
was a song, and I think that would be wonderful to share as
Wow,
well.
that was really, really special. So we actually rewrote the lyrics to Silent Night, which is a beautiful carol. Um, and Sky Kids partnered with Paloma Faith and the children's choir, the Sky Kids Children's Choir. And I have to say, when I walked in, I felt so emotional hearing
Imagine.
those words, you would know obviously as well, um, being sung by the children and Paloma about itchy labels, Christmas jumpers, and how the Christmas season can be quite overwhelming. So, yeah, that was truly magical and it raised lots of money for charity. So, yeah, that still blows me away now.
And you can still listen to that song,
Yes,
can't you? You can still get it's available
it is.
on
It's on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Music.
fantastic. Thank you. What is your favourite children's book that you have read, either as a child or an adult?
See, this is really
It's a
hard to
difficult
have to
question, isn't it?
choose one. There are so many because there are so many that my children loved and they're very special to us. There's some that I find amusing and just lovely. So I'm going to have to pick one. Okay. Oh, I really like a book called The Giving Tree. I don't know if you've read that one. And it's all about gratitude and the little boy who makes friends with a tree and he takes the apples from the tree because he wants to stop playing with the tree and earn some money. And then he goes back to the tree as he gets older. And I think he takes the trunk down to make a boat. So he keeps taking. And eventually, when he's an old man, he learns that he just wanted friendship and to have fun, didn't need all of those things. And the tree was happy and he was happy. It's just quite an inspiring story about gratitude, really. I love that.
I think and that's a lovely book to share, isn't it, with children about getting children to understand that concept around gratitude and what it means to them.
Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful,
Really
beautiful.
lovely.
Nikki, please share a summary of your book, Ready, Eddie, Go.
So this one, it's a set of 5 and they are to accompany the episodes on Sky Kids, which is just amazing. So these are more of a workbook style book, and this is all about having fun with mess and mistakes. And Eddie learns in here about how mistakes are okay. It's okay. And actually, in art, if they're your creative ideas, then to be honest, mistakes can be an opportunity to look at it differently. So Eddie drops a blob of orange paint on his paper, and his friends are amazing. I think Akil says to him, it could be a goldfish in a library with his imagination, and Nina said it could be a satsuma. That then inspired Eddie to think about what he could turn it into. So he turns the paper upside down, puts a ring around it because he loves the planets. And he said, oh, it could be Saturn. And Eddie learns to kind of take some inspiration from his friends and look at things differently. And he's taken step by step about the creativity, and everyone's ideas are all important and valued.
And I like that. And I think in terms of painting, and even myself as an adult, I say, "Well, I can't draw, I can't paint." And I think it's come from to share with children, irrespective of their background, that actually your creation is your creation. And you have still created something that's wonderful. It doesn't have to be perfect, because if you're doing a painting, it's your idea, your interpretation of it could be this cup. That's what you've drawn, and I think that's a lovely message, I think, for all children as well.
Absolutely, and I think it's like you say, it's just that expression of you is that is unique, that is special. The
Absolutely.
world needs different people. If we were all the same, how boring would it be? And that's the same for our ideas. I really love this episode in this book.
And that comes across, I think, quite nicely within the whole series that's on Sky Kids, is about showing those differences. And I think equally as well, similarities, because we are similar, but we have differences
Yeah.
as a starting point in a conversation for children, sharing their understanding of autism, not just autism, but adding their other disabilities as well. You know, for children, that's age, stage, and ability appropriate. And it's wonderful to have this, because I know even when I was growing up, and I'm very old children, we didn't have conversations around disability. And it's so nice to see that. And I think it's sharing that empathy. And I think that's super important for all children, to have that understanding of empathy,
It
you
really
know?
is. And I don't think I remember anything either. And also, I think when Tyler was very young, primary school age, I would say that I needed something like this.
Totally.
Really did.
Mm,
He's 14 now and he is so proud of it.
mm.
So it's helped his younger brother as well. So it's just been wonderful. And I hope lots of children benefit from watching, regardless of disability or how their brain works. Just it's lovely all round, really.
Thank you. So if I had to ask you this question,
Okay.
your favourite page in the book, if you've got one?
I do. And this is really easy for me because we've been talking about this the whole time. So page 38, so I remember the number because I'm good with numbers, at remembering them. It's all of the children, they're all lined up in a row and they're looking at their artwork together. And what I love about this is that Nina thought that she compared her work and she thought her work weren't as good as somebody else's. And it was beautiful. Akil thought he'd run out of time and he hadn't finished and wanted to get it perfect, but his brick was the most perfect block that he had drawn and put up on the peg. And Eddie thought he made a mistake because his was upside down. So actually, by the time you get to this page, this is actually a snapshot in the show that I just love the most, and I really wanted it in the book because everyone, you can see them just exploring and enjoying each other's work and celebrating it. And I think we should do that for each other as well. I just love it.
And I think for the children watching or listening to this podcast, I think that's a really beautiful message that comes through in terms of what we were saying earlier,
Yes,
is
yes.
that every child is unique. Your creation is your creation. It doesn't matter if you've run out of time, if you've made a mistake. Um, is there such a thing as making a mistake when we're
Exactly.
creating artwork? But that's beautiful, Nikki. And if you had to ask yourself a question about this book, what would it be if you had to personalize a question?
Or I have to choose one again. I think I ask myself lots of questions actually when I'm writing the books. And I think, God, there are so many. And I think the biggest one is this page helpful? Have I got my message across? Will it inspire children? Will it help them know how wonderful they are just as they are? Will it help them know that their ideas are so valued and so important? Um, And also, I think it's okay to say, how could I improve this page? Does it need some improvement, for the benefit of the reader? So I think, yeah, lots of questions actually. It's really hard just to choose one.
Yeah, I think that's a good one, isn't it? As an author, that's a really good point, isn't it? What could I improve on? And I think that's for the children, who are reading the book. I think which leads me on to this next question. What do you want children to learn from this book or take away? What's that message in there, Nikki?
I think throughout the whole series of the books and the show, it is mainly that we are all different, and that is wonderful. You are absolutely fine the way you are. You are valued. Your ideas are valued, and how we can all look at things differently. And it's lovely in that book and in the show that the children help each other look at things differently and accept each other for who they are, no matter of any differences. I think the main one is just to be kind and look after each other, really.
Isn't that wonderful? And that's a wonderful point to finish off on,
It
Nikki.
is.
So thank you, Nikki,
Thank
for,
you
for
for having
sharing.
me.
Thank you so much. And you can read Ready, Eddie, Go Painting. Remember to use your local library. It's free if you can. As I always say, Claudia and Tess say on Strictly Come Dancing, they say, keep dancing, but I always say, keep reading. So thank
Love
you.
that. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. You're welcome. This podcast was